Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
This is the latest disclosure, a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Some shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror.
Welcome to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And good evening, everybody. It is indeed After Hours AM Deeper Cuts, like the man said, and it is actually the eve of Paracon. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Greg Bakun, and we're here to take you down the rabbit hole of demonology. We're going to be talking with Rev Neal Farley. And that'll be next, or actually the bottom of this hour. And we're going to find out some creepy stuff about demons, demonology, and how the church views demons. So you're going to want to sit in on that. So Greg, man.
Yes, sir.
How's it going, my brother?
It's Paracon week. I mean, how else am I going to be going? I'm jumping out of my skin right now with excitement.
It's the biggest party in the paranormal, man. It is going to be a lot of fun.
You know, I've been waiting for this since the end of the last one. Like, driving out of the parking lot of Shooting Star Casino, I'm like, I cannot wait for next year. And here we are.
Didn't it creep up quick, though? I mean, you know.
Oh, goodness,
quick.
Yeah.
Because now, not only you attending, but you're covering it live. We are. After Hours AM is, of course. Yes, you're going to be there with me. You and I will be covering the entire weekend for radio, of course, and we're going to be giving away stuff. And I'm telling you, let me quote Donald Trump. It's going to be huge. You're going to love it. Exactly, man. The gifts are going to be that great. The giveaways, the gifts, all that kind of good stuff that we have planned for all the listeners.
And, you know, it's kind of scary to talk about it because I don't want to make the people who are not able to go jealous. And that's just honest.
Well, then they need to show up. Show up, man. Show up if you can, though. And if you have a ticket, there are still a few tickets available. I am told there's still a few tickets available. So if you can make it this weekend, Friday and Saturday, of course, that would be the 13th and 14th, sorry. I almost said 12th, but that is the big VIP dinner. And all you people that have VIP tickets, I cannot talk tonight, Greg. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No problem.
VIP tickets, you'll be able to see us MC the whole thing, and that'll be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, the thing about the VIP night, because I've done a number of these, and what we've wanted to do is just take a couple minutes just to kind of get things going, get this party started. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Just, we're going to have some fun. And that's where, and we're not going to go into it because you have to be there to know what Shooting Star has up their sleeves. But as far as the giveaways that they are providing, and it's not even, I mean, we're going to have a lot of stuff too, but the stuff that they're providing is,
could we announce one?
It's top notch, though.
Could we announce one? Just one.
If you dare.
Not the whole thing, but just an example of the giveaways.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that we wouldn't be too far out of line here if we just kind of announced that maybe you could possibly win your very own Cheap Trick tickets. Cheap Trick will be, of course, at the Shooting Star Casino, and you would have a chance to win those tickets at the VIP dinner. So if you're going to be attending, you're going to have chances, but don't fret, guys. All weekend we're giving away awesome gifts. Do not worry about that at all.
No, and incidentally, about the concert and stuff, if you've never known that Shooting Star has like a lineup of amazing acts that come to the casino and perform there. Based on the giveaways this weekend, you're going to know.
Yeah. So that's all we're going to say about the giveaways. But we also would like to thank Llewellyn Worldwide because they're stepping up and giving us and Kat over there at Llewellyn has really stepped up. And she just gave us a whole ton of awesome giveaways, courtesy of Llewellyn Worldwide, just for you guys. Of course, Fate Magazine. They're also kicking in. So we want to thank everybody that's given us a hand with all these giveaways so we can help you guys because, gosh darn it, Greg, we love them.
And I think I have an idea for a viral video. And now just sit with me here for a second, and while I go through it, it's a video of you carrying the massive box that Llewellyn sent of all the stuff to give away, and I'm not kidding when I say it's massive, and see how far you make it from the car into the casino.
You know, I will have someone film that while I'm packing on Thursday to show up. I will have somebody film me wrestling this giant box of goodies to the vehicle and try to stuff it in there. And then once we get there, of course, all weekend, we'll not only be giving away great stuff from Llewellyn, great stuff from Fate, but we also want to hear your ghost stories. There will be story time over there at the radio booth where you can, if you've never been on radio before, you want to get on radio, or if you got a great story, you just want to get out there, maybe share it with us. We'd love to hear you guys tell those stories. We want to be one of you guys and hear them, man. We love a great ghost story.
We do, and you know, I learned, and I know that we've talked about this separately, and when I did the Minnesota Ghost Box table last year, one of the things that surprised me the most was the amount of people who came up to Nicole and I, which we loved, just to tell us their experience, just to tell us what's going. They're not looking for us to change anything or help them or anything. They just wanted to be heard. They wanted their story to be out there, and this is where we're inviting everybody to do that. And that story literally is broadcast out to the world.
Yeah,
and you can listen to us all weekend on the TuneIn app.
Yeah, actually, TuneIn stepped up as well, and when I spoke with them about radio time, and they've been great partners of After Hours AM, and just recently we had a major anniversary of the show, and it's already been a decade, believe it or not, that the show has been on the air.
Amazing.
And they've always been there. They were the first venue to carry us that believed in the show enough. So talking with them, they're going to allocate all the time we need. No matter what's going on, we go ahead, we flip the switch, and you can hear us on TuneIn as well as iHeartRadio is going to be there. And a lot of our normal affiliates as well are going to be carrying what we're doing. Of course, down in New Orleans, they're going to be tuning in, man, to hear what's going on at Paracon and stuff like that. So really, you guys be global. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is, and thank you to everybody, the tune-ins and all the affiliates in New Orleans and everywhere else across the world for listening to us, for carrying us, for supporting us, and we love you guys. That's all there is to say about that.
Yeah, we truly do. Because guess what? We're fans just like you are of the paranormal, man. We're out there just like you guys are, looking into things deeper. We're not a couple radio hosts. We actually go out into the field. We actually try new things. So we're right there with you guys. We even got our own spooky stories. That I'm going to unveil one that happened to me at Paracon, by the way, live. I've never told before.
Nice.
And so I'll tell the one about what happened to me in Alcatraz when I got a little too cocky for my own good.
Well, you got to be careful with that, as you well know now.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But that being said, sir, we got some great news in the hopper. Oh, by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say stop by starcasino.com for all of your information. Again, that's starcasino.com for all the Paracon information, the lineup, where you can get tickets, all the booths, the vendors, everything. Check it all out, starcasino.com.
That's fantastic. We're very excited about that. But sometimes when you have good news, sometimes you have to have tragedy. And fun turned to tragedy in Hong Kong recently. Man dies in haunted house attraction. A man has died in a haunted house attraction called Buried Alive.
Oh, my gosh.
As Hong Kong's largest amusement park prepared to kick off its annual Halloween festival. The 21-year-old man surnamed Chang was hit by a coffin on Saturday, local media said. Chung was found unconscious 5 minutes after he entered the attraction. Ocean Park Chief Executive Matthias Lee said Saturday, expressing deep sorrow over the tragedy. He was confirmed dead in the hospital, police said. Buried Alive is part of a Halloween-themed festival at Ocean Park running from October 5th to 31st. The park's website said visitors would experience being buried alive alone before fighting their way out of their dark and eerie grave. Sounds like...
My God!
Sounds like my life. Visitors are supposed to get inside a coffin, turn slide, local media said, and slip through into the haunted house where they would experience what the park's website described as a rocky maze filled with dreadful ghouls. Hong Kong's government said it believed Chung entered the house safely but wandered off into a restricted area where he was struck by machinery. The victim was believed to have entered into an area for mechanical operation that was not open to visitors and was hit by a mechanical part, a statement said. Police said an investigation was ongoing. Chung was friends with employee of Swire Group subsidiary and had visited Ocean Park as part of an annual staff event organized by the company, the South China Morning Post reported. The government has ordered the closure of Buried Alive until further notice. So there is that, Joel. It's all fun and games until someone gets hit by a coffin.
That's
Just
right.
Remember that.
Yeah, it's all fun and games till the coffin hits you in the head. And then, of course, you get buried in a coffin, which is weird as well. Not only do you die because of one, then you get buried in one. How weird, how ironic is that?
It's not like the circle of life. I was going to say it's like the circle of life, but there is something, I don't know, poetic about it, perhaps.
It's ironic, don't you think?
Is.
Just
more ironic than anything. Yeah, exactly. No, it really is.
It's more ironic than rain on your wedding day. Or good advice, or free advice, and you already paid.
Yeah, Alanis really should have just called the song "Doesn't It Suck?" because it's not ironic. It's more stuff that just sucks.
It's all stuff that'll screw up your day. That's all it is. It's crappy life events. Okay, all right, Alanis, we get it. Jagged little pill girl, you have it tough.
She plateaued for me on Can't Do That on Television, and then ever since I've never.
Yeah, well, you know,
she's changed. That's
she's dead. She's dead to you.
Yeah.
Just a career anyway. All right, what's next?
So these this report has been around all week. It's been posted on the After Hours AM Facebook page. I've seen it all over the place.
Sure.
Police said drunken man claims he's traveled back from the year 2048 to warn of alien invasion.
Well, of course.
And police say a Central Wyoming man they arrested for public intoxication claimed he had traveled back in time to warn of an alien invasion. Casper police say the man they encountered at 10:30 p.m. Monday claimed he was from the year 2048. KTWO-AM in Casper reports that the man told police he wanted to warn the people of Casper that aliens will arrive next year and that they should leave as soon as possible. Well, that's all I need, really.
That's all I need to hear, man. I'm on the next thing smoking. I'm out of here. See ya.
Yeah, pretty much. He asked to speak with the president of the town. There's a town president. Don't they normally just have like mayors or something like that? About 170 miles northwest of Cheyenne. The man told police he was only able to time travel because aliens filled his body with alcohol. If that works, that's how I'm going to start doing that.
We're going time traveling this weekend, buddy.
We sure are. He noted that he was supposed to be transported to the year 2018, not this year. So it's a time-traveling faux pas, really.
That's what it is. Not like hasn't been seen the likes of which since Back to the Future.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I don't know. It's not exactly believable. I'm not. I'm just gonna say, and I probably have the opposing view here, but I don't believe the headline.
I for one believe that if you do drink enough, you do believe you're time traveling because you feel like you're moving in slow motion. But no, I do not believe that the aliens would give him alcohol and say, "Here, drink this Everclear, and you're going to go to the year 2018. Watch how it works." No, that's not what happened. What happened is guy got drunk, felt like a moron. It's like, guess what? I'm from the future. That's right. Just like that, too. Yeah, he did it really like that. Guess what? Like everything just like that. And you got to heal me out and stuff like that. So I saw the guy. I heard the report. I heard the guy on radio talking, and he sounded suspiciously like Mick Jagger got hit by a truck.
Okay, because that does not sound like Mick Jagger. I'm just going to be honest here. I mean, we're in the honest circle, right?
We
Honesty
are.
circle right now.
I wasn't going for Jagger. I was going for Jagger hit by a truck, and nobody quite knows how that sounds, do we?
Well, not yet, but I'm hoping soon.
Greg.
What? Why did I have to be like that? Why? And now you know what's going to happen. He's going to get hit by a truck, and they're going to be like, "Oh, look, look who said that was going to happen."
Now remember,
Joel Sturgis.
That's what it was. Now, Greg's email is, of course, minnesotaghostbox@gmail.com. Make sure you go ahead and fill it full of hate mail, folks.
Well, it would actually fill it up, so that's something at least, right?
We have mail! Yeah, no. Okay, moving along, away from Mick Jagger.
Should we talk about... I'm trying to think what's the best haunted headline to go to next, because we're kind of flying through these. I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Please do.
One that we haven't read before. It's about a creepy World War II airfield in Oklahoma that's teeming with paranormal activity.
What?
I know, right? Have you ever visited a place and thought it felt haunted but weren't able to prove it? Well, if that place was an old World War II airfield in Frederick, Oklahoma, then you'll want to take a look at this investigation from Society of the Haunted. They discovered a ghost from a navigator of an old plane on the airfield, and it's as creepy as it sounds. So this is actually a really crappy article because it's only pictures, no words.
God, this article sucks for radio. What are you people thinking?
So what we need is a visual sort of radio. Is there such a thing, Joel, as visual radio?
No, but I can make sound effects while you talk to bring it to life, like theater.
Do you have a way of doing your own sound effects at an airplane? Because that's what this is all about. It's an airplane that...
There.
No, that was great. That was really good.
That's getting fired up. You know, when you got to spin the prop, you know. So go ahead. Okay.
There was people, and they went to a C-47 in a hangar and saw some stuff come through when they were talking about the war. They were talking about the conflict. And they conducted an EVP session and a K2 meter reading. It was extremely quiet on the readings until the paranormal investigator started revealing that he was in the Air Force for 6 years. The K2 meter took an immediate jump up to an extremely high reading.
Oh.
And then, so you know what? I always agree. I think trigger objects. And that was kind of what he was. He created himself as a trigger object. I think that those are great. I really do.
Yeah, trigger object going, yeah, by the way, I was in the Air Force for 6 years. I didn't go up in there or nothing, and they only said I could say it when no one else was around. But I'm telling you, I was there.
They realized the ghostly entity on board was the previous navigator of the aircraft, and he was there to stay. How do they know that?
I don't know. Honestly. Yeah, I mean, unless he showed up and said... Hi, my name is Mike, the navigator. I'm great to meet you guys, and, hopefully you can hang around a little bit longer, because I plan to spike your meters.
It kind of reminds me, and I'll try not to make this a long story, but it's a story from me, that Nicole and I did an investigation somewhere, and she got through a name of a young girl. But it's an odd name, so like I didn't realize it was a female name, and so I didn't know. But we had people in the room with us, and she had already talked to this little girl, found out about family and stuff because she is a medium. She's very talented in those areas. And we ended up going somewhere else to investigate within this building, and we leave a bunch of people behind to continue the conversation. And when we got back to them, they were just like, yeah, this person, he was a World War II veteran who actually married his high school sweetheart, who actually, it's like, no, it's a little girl. And it was still a little girl when we spoke to him. And you took the wrong turn, and you weren't listening to any of the evidence, and you were horribly wrong. And that was just what this kind of reminds me of. It's like, they realized the ghostly entity on board was the previous navigator. How do you know that?
Well, how often, though, do people jump to conclusions because they want that to be the case?
What, 95% of the time, wouldn't you think?
You know what I mean? Where they want that to be, like the navigator and have a great story of heroism and then make contact with them and da-da-da-da. Because it makes for a better story than, it was a guy that happened to work on these planes. For some reason, he was stuck there. We don't know why. But, man, did he really want to leave?
Yeah.
Just some mundane individual that happened to work at the airstrip. I'd believe that more than the navigator's thing. We got the navigator here, and he's telling us all the goods and what's going on. And really, it's up for speculation, and that's part of the field, and that's why it's so great, and that's why it's so hard at the same time. Because nobody quite knows 100% who they're talking to or what they're talking about.
No, and it's easy to go down a rabbit hole and getting the wrong and not necessarily the wrong information, but like you said, just kind of the misinformation and kind of jumping like, oh, this is what this must mean or whatever, or you're playing the story out in your mind while you're getting a flashlight flashing on you, like, okay, this is what's going on. I totally get it now.
Just because it reacts to the flashlight, don't mean it's not messing with you.
Well, exactly.
It could be a trick. See, now, when I die, I'm telling you, I'm going to mess with every investigator I can find. I mean, really mess with them, right? Just I'm going to have them believing I'm a demon from the 7th layer of hell by the time I'm done and stuff. I'm really just going to mess with them. I really am.
Well, I mean, you're close. I mean, you're from Gilbert, right?
That is true, and that's not far off. Let me tell you, I'm only on the 4th layer of hell. But the 7th one is really where you want to be.
No, and that's and also like Spirit Box, like we've gotten a great deal of names and stuff through Spirit Boxes, but it's also important that we're not trying to construct a story around it. We're not trying to fill in the gaps when we don't have that information, and it's tough sometimes because you want to be like, oh, that's what this is, that's what's going on, and it's like, no, not necessarily the case at all.
A lot of times, people come to me and we'll talk about evidence, or I'll listen to what they got, and I'll tell them, well, it's this or that and other thing. But it's amazing how many people want it to be someone of relevance, number one, in some way to that story. Better yet, if it's a historically significant person, like a celebrity or something. But they don't want just Joe Blow that happens to say hi. You see what I'm saying? They want someone that really matters to the story. And how do you know? For instance, if you're just BSing with the guy and you're trying to get answers, how do you know it wasn't just someone walking down the road goes, what the hell are those people doing over there? I'm going to go check it out in that hangar.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and if they find out, if the spirit finds out, they're trying to talk to, say John Lennon or something, like, they're not going to know if I'm not really John Lennon.
I got nothing but time to kill. Hey, yeah, that's me. Me and Yoko. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally never understood the desire to want to contact famous people, because that seems that's, first of all, it seems like probably a ton of people want to do it, especially, and we've talked about this before. There's that one paranormal investigator who makes his name known pretty well, and whenever a celebrity dies, he always takes out a number of spirit boxes and tries to communicate with them.
This guy got a hold of me, and I know who you're talking about. He claims that he got a hold of Robin Williams. And this is shortly after Robin Williams' death, right? Yep. He's like, I talked to Robin Williams. Really? I would imagine that Robin is probably trying to figure out his new body and his new surroundings, and maybe talking through your little gadget is not at the top of his list.
He's put that video up on YouTube, actually. I'm assuming it's still there. And yeah, I've watched it, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. But what you're saying, I totally agree with. Like, just let these people transfer into their new existence.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe maybe they don't want to talk. Like, why would Robin Williams turn around and come to this individual? And I mean, and other people say, well, why not? Well, this is the why not. Because, quite honestly, people tend to, even when they're dead, they tend to flock to people they knew in life. Mm-hmm. And there's just a draw there. That's why a lot of times you're going to hear about hauntings are happening when Grandpa stays in the house, right? Grandpa could go to any house he wanted to, really, when you think about it. But no, he chooses to be in his familiar surroundings with familiar people. So I believe, and I could be wrong here because no one has a silver bullet, I think it's the same thing when you pass over as well. How many times have you gone into a house and you make legitimate contact and it's the builder of the house or the guy that lived in the house? Some really deep-seated reason why they would want to stay there.
Yeah. And sometimes, too, I mean, I would assume that depending on how you go, like, for example, I would think with my dad, for example, he would stick around because he wanted to make sure that we were all right, not waiting for someone to connect with him on the spirit box.
Now, I have never tried to make contact with my father. Ever. Nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I really wouldn't want to, and I'm not begrudging anyone that does. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't contact your loved ones. No, I think if you're confident and you're comfortable with that, I think you should be able to do. I'm just not, and so I never have. People have asked me, well, because it's been 3 years. Mm-hmm. Well, have you tried to talk to your dad? No, I have not. I want to think that he peacefully transitioned, and he's not taking calls right now.
I've communicated with him through paranormal means twice.
And one time was Spirit Box very shortly after he passed. I'm talking about my dad, not your dad.
Yeah.
And I believe that I got back from him when I was just said, I miss you. I got love you. But here's the kicker, though. Here's the kicker. I do not want to listen to that because I don't want it to be wrong.
What if it is somebody else? What if it is that trickster? What if it is somebody that necessarily wasn't so nice in life, so they're not going to be so nice in death, and they just want to mess with you?
Well, and here is the kicker. When we did that, I had my friend with me, and we were in the back of my house, like not in the backyard, but there was a big school field, and that's where we were. She ended up catching an attachment in the field, and that's weird. It got weird after that, and it had nothing to do with my father.
Yeah.
It just got weird.
Okay,
though.
Greg, do you believe that was your father?
As the attachment or as the voice?
No, the voice. Did it sound like him?
I do believe it's him.
Okay. Because, like I said, I don't begrudge anybody that would try, and maybe one day I will try.
Yeah.
But at this moment in time, I'm just comfortable letting it lay there for a minute and not bother him any more than I need to.
And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Absolutely.
But again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. And Greg, I think that's amazing that your father came through. Think of all the energy that took for him to get that one small message to you.
And I'll tell you, I won't go through the story because it is long, but we had a series of events at a place that we investigated in Strawberry Point when we had 3 other people. It was Nicole and 2 other people. It was their private residence, and we had a profound experience that included my dad in it, and that's all caught on camera, multiple cameras actually, and that's something that, like I said, it's too long to even talk about.
But how did that impact you emotionally?
It was difficult because everybody fell apart in the room. Everybody knew exactly who it was, even the 2 people who own the house, and they're not, they don't know me that well. We're friendly, and everyone was just like, oh my gosh. And then later that evening in the basement, we connected with the owner's brother who had passed away from cancer just the other year, and that's where it became. The whole night for all of us was draining and emotionally because it was like we were touched that night. You know what I mean? We had a kind of a situation of real communication we felt with these people who had passed that meant so much to us.
But at the other end of that spectrum, I tell people when they say, hey, a loved one reached out to me or whatever, came through EVP or whatever, I tell them enjoy it for what it is at face value. But just bear in mind, it might not have been them. just bear that in mind, that there's a lot of things in the cosmos that aren't always the nicest thing to deal with. And I believe you know, because you've been doing it long enough. But other people, I tell them, just be careful. Just be careful. You don't want to lead that into some emotional devastation for yourself.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yes, sir. I was going to say, we got to get out of here. We got to run a break. We got Reverend Neal Farley coming on next. We're going to talk all things demons, clergy, and maybe even some EVP. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day, because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker.
And I'm Charlie Parker.
And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog?
I don't know, Kip. Tell me.
Well, you can't talk to the dead.
You sure as hell can.
That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija.
Ouija? Well, break that down for me.
Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time, and G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii?
It looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there.
Don't question it.
Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it.
Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself.
Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on.
It's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you.
Well, how does that work, Chip?
Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers.
That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money.
Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions.
Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip.
No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help.
Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead?
The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker and Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallworks. Separate but equal savings.
Author Steve Asher brings us Hauntings of Trilogy. Steve's first book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary. This first installment of the trilogy tells us the tale of the Kentucky State Penitentiary and why it's so haunted. With every turn of the page will be something new and terrifying. Pick up Steve's new book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary, at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and all better bookstores everywhere.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to Geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
You're dead! I saw you die! I was faking. I used ninja focus to slow my heart rate down. What are you doing? I'm burying you. I'm alive! I'm alive! You're waking the neighbors! No. Shut up! No! Now I'm gonna play your drum set.
Welcome to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. This is Deeper Cuts. We're in the second half hour, and things are moving very quickly. This is, of course, Paracon week for us as we're getting ready to go to Shooting Star Casino in Mahnomen, Minnesota. That's going to be this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the actual event is, of course, Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th. Our bumper music tonight is the Midnight Syndicate, and we're extremely, extremely excited about it. I'm here with my co-host and partner in crime, Mr. Joel Sturgis. How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing great. I'm really excited to talk with Reverend over there, and a lot of questions for him. A lot of cool questions, and I know our audience is really eager to hear what he has to say.
You know, it's very true that you said that, because I've had people getting in touch with me about talking to Reverend Neal Farley tonight, saying how excited they are to hear him speak. I've seen people on his own Facebook page excited to hear him talk. We're even going to, you know, maybe if we're kind, maybe he'll do a little croon for us tonight, as he loves to sing and he's very good at it. But you know what? We're just going to get into this. We're going to be talking here with Reverend Neal Farley. He's an ordained minister, demonologist, and spiritual counselor. On his website, God's Ways, House Cleansing and Blessings, Reverend Farley will do house blessings and personal blessings for individuals or families in spiritual trouble. He handles hauntings, poltergeists, demonic possessions, unwanted spirits, and spiritual counseling. On his Twitter account, he says that he loves to sing, write lyrics, and short stories. We have you now, Rev, for about an hour and a half, and I think, like you said, right before we got back from break, things are going to go very quickly. How are you, Rev?
I'm very good, very good. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Absolutely. I'm just so excited to talk to you. I'm not going to lie. I'm just so excited to talk to you again, because every time I get off the phone with you and we're done with an interview, my heart smiles, because you are doing amazing work, and I know that you're going to correct me as you did during break and said, you know, you're doing the work of God, you're a servant of Him, and I do appreciate it. But you are making yourself available to people in a way that very few others who are able to help are doing so.
Well, thank you. It's the most rewarding work I could possibly could do after I retired from disability, and wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. And God has a way of opening doors for you, and He opened a big one for me in being able to help people who are in spiritual trouble.
So one more question, and I'm going to let Joel pop in here. You know, let's just do a baseline start. What is demonology?
It is basically the study of demons, the understanding of the many types of demons that are there. It's actually more about experience than it is about text. You can take a course on demonology and study all the different types of demons, and have the concept of who they are, what they are, where they come from. But until you get out there and until you've actually been touched by a demon, and in my particular case, I was tormented by demons for 50 years, from the age of 3 years old until the age of 50, when literally I spoke to Christ, and I was in terrible shape. My family was being tormented. My daughter wanted me to watch my granddaughter. I couldn't watch her, and I was in desperate. I was ready to leave my family, and just to save them from what was coming down. I got depressed because I worked with children with autism for 18 years, and I love my work. And when I got sad, that's when they came back, and really with a vengeance. They've never left me totally up until I was basically saved by Christ Himself, to allow me to do what I do, and to provide the services that I provide for families who were in the same kind of situation that I was in. But demonology is basically, to me, it's the experience of demons. It's understanding them. It's knowing every move that they make. It's knowing what to do, what to say, what not to say. It's how to handle them, how to educate the public is the biggest part that I do. A lot of people will come in and they'll remove the demons, but they don't tell people how to prevent them from coming back, or discuss with people how to prevent them from showing up in the first place. There are many things that we can do. There's a pattern to them that's not talked about, that you can pretty much lay the tracks down for, because it's there. So that to me is what demonology is about. You get different interpretations from different people, I'm sure.
Well, Reverend Neal, first I want to ask, are you a practicing reverend? As in, do you have a congregation in a church and all that kind of good stuff?
No, I actually went to college, and I went through online to Liberty in Lynchburg, Virginia. I went online. Once I retired unexpectedly, I had all this free time, so I took a home study course.
Sure.
On religion.
Sure.
And that's the way I got it.
The reason why I asked that is because I was a kid. I grew up in a Lutheran church, being a good Lutheran boy, and I talked to my pastor about the paranormal, and I was just getting into it. I was maybe, sightings was the big show of the day. I was in my early teens, and I mentioned to him, I said, well, what's up with these people talking to these dead people? He looks at me in all seriousness, stopped dead in his tracks, and he says, God says we are not to commune with the dead. That is a form of necromancy. Those that do that you're entertaining the devil's. You're in the devil's playground once you kind of dip your toes into that. Do you believe that, or is that something that's just maybe told to scare us when we're kids? Don't be talking to those dead people, because you know what? The devil will come get you.
Well, the Bible is somewhat clear on that, as far as Scripture goes. We are, if you do it in the name of God. In other words, let me see if I can find this here. I want to quote the Scripture exactly right. And if you do it in a spiritual way, if you do it in a way that is in God's path. In other words, if your mother comes to visit you, or your father, as I heard you speaking before then, to not speak to your own father when he comes to you. He came to you under God's blessings. God just doesn't let anyone show up, except for the earthbound spirits, those spirits who have not crossed over. They pretty much run the airways and go wherever they really want to go. So it's important that you know the difference as far as how you're supposed to communicate with them. If you're doing it for entertainment, to say that I got the best EVP or I got the best thing of that nature, then you're walking kind of a fine line there, because you're opening doors. And as you know, you never know what's going to be behind door number 1 or door number 2.
And Reverend, to be fair, a large part of the paranormal community views the paranormal, and I'm not trying to use a broad brush here because I'm not saying everybody, but I have come into a contact where they talk about getting EVP much like they're all on the lake fishing. It's a leisure sport. It's something to do. Are these people at more risk? They're the casual, quote-unquote, ghost hunter than the people that are completely armed like yourself, knowing what you're going into.
Could you repeat that again?
Sure. Like I was saying, there's a lot of casual ghost hunters, and they view the paranormal, like EVP and evidence like that, akin really to a fishing trip, where it's for leisure and fun and the thrill. Would you believe that they're at major risk compared to somebody of your knowledge level and knowing what you're dealing with?
Oh, absolutely. Because there are things that, that there's really only one person who can up and fight a demon for you, and that's God in Christ. And if you go out there and you don't say a protection prayer or at least get God involved in what you're doing, you're wide open. You're Russian roulette. You're just spinning the revolver and hoping that that nothing happens. One of the things that people don't really realize is that people who use forms of communication with spirits can go years and years and years. We'll take the Ouija board, for example, the spirit board. Once you put your thumbprint on that board and you use it to talk to the dead, Satan holds that thumbprint and waits until sometime in your life when things go to hell in a handbasket, as they say, and things go really, really bad and you get depressed and you provide him with enough negative energy, he will drop a lower level demon on you, and that demon will manifest and go through the stages of possession and make your life a living hell. So what people don't really realize is that he's patient. Satan is very, very patient. And he will wait. He will wait until that all-time low. You get cancer, financial problem, your girlfriend broke up with me, you have cancer, any types of negative where you're dwelling. You get it. All of a sudden you're suffering from anxiety, depression, you served in the Gulf War, you have PTSD. All of those things are invites of negative energy. And he will wait until that moment, and then he will bring them into your life. So you can go through and have a great time doing all this stuff, and you could be 80 years old when Satan decides to drop by when you find out at 80 that you have cancer. So that's the surprise that most people don't realize.
Yeah.
But are you saying, I mean, is that a kind of a broad stroke, though, in the sense that, I mean, obviously people get something like cancer because they just get it, right? I mean, you're not saying every form of someone getting cancer is directly related to
the negativity that you have from depression is what brings it in. Spirits, demons live off of negative energy.
Yeah.
That can be anger, that can be sadness, that can be depression, that can be worrying. Anything that's not positive is negative. Anything that's negative is food for them. It's what they live for. They're like sharks that eat anything gets in their way. Well, the demons, and they just live for anything that's negative.
It makes a lot of sense you're saying. It really does. I didn't mean to cut you off because we had William Bowden. I wanted to say that he was one of the in the original case of The Exorcist, the boy that was, and we had that same discussion. And I wanted to interject this, saying he said the same thing you are. He says, you might challenge it today. It could wait till you're 95 years old and pick its spot to infest itself in your life because they don't have a concept of time. These things have no idea. They don't live and die by the time clock.
And I just want to quickly throw in too that one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard that I've always kept with me. It's made such an impression on me because, Rev, what you're saying, I mean, I'm totally understanding that, is Bishop James Long had always said, just very simply, evil can wait. And that is something that's stuck with me for so long because, to your point and what you're saying, it's like, yeah, you don't know what you're messing with, and just because you think after 10 years you don't have to worry about anything, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right. You never know when evil puts his hand on your shoulder and marks you. And let me tell you something. I've done close to 300 house blessings and cleansings in 36 countries, and every one of them, almost everyone, I'd say 90% to 95% of them, this is for it. They either went to a medium, they went on a ghost adventure, they used a Ouija board, they used a tarot card, they did some type of communication with the dead sometime in their life and left that imprint. And you can pinpoint, I can go back to them and I can say, when this started, were you having some problems in your life? And dollars to donuts, man, they're going to tell you, yes, it started then.
Yeah. And that's most of our audience has at one time gone to a medium or had their tarot cards read or done this or done that. And really, they don't think of it, and me included at the time, we don't think of it as anything dangerous. But you're right. It does leave that indelible mark.
My point is, if you're going to do this stuff, just make sure you're happy the rest of your life. That's just, whatever it takes to keep you happy, stay happy, and don't let yourself get into a repetitive sadness or repetitive where you're putting out negative energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that then, Reverend? Is that what happened to you then eventually? Not necessarily the talking dead, but I mean, I'm kind of curious about the 50 years of demons attacking you. What would you mind be able to tell us why does that even happen?
It started at the age of 3, so I doubt seriously if I touched the Ouija board at the age of 3.
No kidding.
Anything of that nature. I was basically, everything happens for a reason, and I guess I was meant to do. It was meant to happen to me for some reason, and I still don't know what that reason was. Why at the age of 3, that the plague came over top of me. I mean, they would pick me up out of my crib, according to my mother, because I don't remember too much of it. I remember the fear and the anxiety of just seeing flashes of dark spirits, and they would pinch me. They would literally pinch me. My mother would wake me up, and I would be covered with little red marks all over my body. Would pick me up out of my crib and just drop me. A half a foot or whatever, and my mother would pick me up, and I would be soaking wet from sweating. And to this day, when demons are around me, I sweat. That's how I know they're around me, and that's one of the gifts. I guess you could call it a gift in some ways. Is that if I'm within 100 yards, or if I'm talking on the phone with somebody or texting to somebody, and I start sweating, I know that there's definitely a negative presence that's in there, and more than likely it's demonic in nature. That gives me the edge over other people. So you were saying before how they can trick you, and was that really your father? I would know if that was really your father or not, because if it was anybody other than that, I would start sweating. Now you can get maybe possibly just a stupid jerk spirit, who didn't cross over, is just, being smart with you or something. I guess that's possible, but that's not usually the case. Usually they're so happy that we're talking to them that they wouldn't do something like that, Yeah. So, but from the age of 3, it was just one thing right after another. And fortunately for me, my grandmother was a fortune teller. They didn't call them mediums back there; they called them fortune tellers. And she saw that that I had this light around me or whatever, that I was something special. And she tried to help me, because I kept telling her that the spirits would bother me, and then she would see all the marks on me. I had so many marks on me that I had to wear long sleeve shirts and jeans in July, because my mother didn't want them to see all the marks on my body, because she didn't want to think there was child abuse. So sweat like a dog all day long in school, and they hounded me. And then I had the other spirits, the good spirits that were just following me around because they were just so happy that somebody would talk to them. So it was quite a distraction. It was difficult for me in school to do my work, to stay focused on anything. And I certainly wasn't, in 1950, you didn't tell somebody, or you didn't talk to things that were not there, because those are the places that everybody goes and visits today.
I was going to say, back then it was nowhere near as open back then it is today, where, you talk about ghosts and they go, oh, yeah, I've seen that show on TV. Yeah, let's talk about ghosts. Back then it was like, you're certifiable and you need help.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1950, so you're talking about 1956 and everything. I mean, that's when, that's when all these great institutions were in their mayday, of overpacked and people with lobotomies and all kinds of. And I could have very well been in there if it hadn't been for my grandmother. My grandmother literally saved me.
Yeah.
And helped me, from. I made the one mistake of talking to spirits, and somebody came up and snuck up behind me and heard me. I think it was like 2nd or 3rd grade, and they called me crazy boy until I finally left elementary school. And so it wasn't easy. It was just a terrible life. I mean, I've been poked, pulled. When I'm 3 years old, they pushed me off a pier in Lake Remy in Canada, and my mother and my father says, where's Neal? And they go, I don't know. And I was on the pier, and next thing you know, I was gone. And they looked down in the water, which was really clear in the Canadian lakes, and I was down underneath the water, swimming like a little tadpole down underneath there, a cousin jumped in and pulled me out,
but
I
Rev,
was totally fine. So I kind of felt like from them telling me that story, that God had a reason for me to stick around even through all the torture.
Well, Reverend, it begs the question, why you, though? I hate to cut you off in your great story, but why you? Why would it attack someone so young? What did it have to gain? And why? What's your best guess, looking back today, why you were targeted?
To do what I'm doing. To be where I'm at today and do what I do as far as helping people and fighting and fighting alongside of Archangel Michael, helping God is a spiritual warfare as we are approaching Revelations. I think it was all meant to be.
So
all part of who I am today.
And I don't mean to cut you off either. I'm just really interested in what's being said here. And for clarification, are you saying it was like God allowing these demons to attack you? Because I can't imagine demons would be doing that to you at 3 so that you could fight them later. Or am I misunderstanding?
I think it was all. When I was a little kid, my mother put a picture of an angel over the top of my bed. That this angel is standing over a bridge that's like a rickety bridge, and these 2 little children are trying to cross over it. I never once ever lost faith in God. I went to Sunday school. I was in Boy Scouts, and so I never once ever lost faith. And Satan doesn't go after. I'm sorry, he doesn't go after atheists. He doesn't go after criminals. He doesn't go after the worst of society. He goes after Christians.
Yeah.
And you will rarely ever find a case where Satan has gone after an atheist.
You're right, because you have to believe. I would assume there has to be some type of belief system there, for them to gain anything.
All in of God casting him out of heaven. It's all been payback. That's his whole goal. And he goes after those. The stronger your faith, the more gifted you are, the more he wants to go after you.
Okay. And that was kind of my next question was, like, how long had you been, God's servant? Because I was wondering if that had been with you since the start, because, I'm sure there's a point where you just didn't understand what was happening to you at such a young age.
I didn't. I had no idea. I was like, I kept asking and praying over and over and over again. But again, that was all part of who I am. Mm-hmm. As bad as it was, as horrible as it was, I'm grateful that I've been given the opportunity to stand on the right side of the Lord, to stand with Jesus, to stand with Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael, and fight God's battle against Satan. It gives you a kind of strength. I can't even explain it. There's no greater reward than going into a home where little children are being tormented, where the family is a loving family that would normally get along really great, and bringing them all back together and bringing peace and harmony back into their house. And knowing that when you work with God, that all your answers will be present. The one thing that I learned that the most is that if you have the 23rd Psalm says, I will walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. If you truly, truly believe, and you're truly a faithful person, you will believe that God will help you and that God will protect you. It's when you have to pray every day and ask him over and over and over again that your faith has been weakened. Because if you truly believe, you don't have to ask over. God hears you the first time. He's with you every moment of your day. And if you trusted him and trust that he hears you and trust that he will deliver you, he will deliver with you. It's when we lose that faith and we feel sorry for ourselves and we blame everybody for everything that's going wrong with us, that's not faith. Mm-hmm. Faith is trusting God will help you through things.
All right, so we're going to, because there's so much going on here, so much good information, we're going to take a break. When we come back with Rev Neal Farley, we're going to keep talking about this. We're going to talk about possession, and we're going to talk about this demon house built in 1773. You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cut.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
Welcome back to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always, is Mr. Greg Bakun. And tonight we are talking with Reverend Neal Farley, and we're talking all things demonology, all things, well, basically, how to arm yourself against demons as well. So we're going to get into that. But, you know, I was thinking while we're talking, and maybe, you know, I don't know it real well. I'm sure some of the audience doesn't. But, Reverend, can you take us through those stages of possession? How does it start and how does it end? What happens and in between?
Well, there are basically three stages of manifestation to possession. The first one is infestation, and that usually happens when you experience the feeling of being watched. You hear knocks, scratches on the wall, whispers of cold spots. Sometimes growls of strange electrical occurrences, you know, the basic stuff that most paranormal investigators are looking for. Mm-hmm. Then you go into stage 2, which is oppression, and that's when the demons' tactics are taken at large, and you'll hear loud noises of causes disturbances, of nightmares, unnatural sexual dreams can happen. Hallucinations. They're looking for weaknesses in you. They're looking for fear. They're looking for guilt, grief, and that's what I was talking about before. Those are feeding. You're feeding it, and that's what it's looking for. Because when you feed it with your negative energy, it gets stronger. It gets hope. It gets confidence that it will be able to take you to the third stage, which is possession. And possession is exactly what it means. It means that it has taken over your body to the point where you have no consciousness of what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're treating your family. You could possibly black out from possession. You may end up with marks, unusual marks. There may be moments where your eyes turn completely black, and at that point, you have to recognize it, and that's the hardest part because the people don't want to admit that they're possessed. I tell people that they call me up. Well, I don't really think I am. It's almost like an alcoholic. You have to admit that yes, I am possessed. You have to hit that wall where everybody in your life has left you. Your life is so bad that you have no other way out, and that's when they come to me, and that's when spiritual cleansing is done. I don't do exorcisms. I call upon God to spiritually cleanse the house and all those in the house and the person who's possessed, and it is God who does it, not me. So. Those are basically that's the route that it takes.
Now I've heard really quick, just an addendum to what he was saying, really quick. And what is now the term perfect possession that I've heard thrown around more than once?
Perfect possession?
Yeah, from what I understand.
On me. I've never heard.
Now, according to other demonologists, or actually the actual exorcist I ran into from the diocese that did not want to even give me his name, we went through that a little bit. Perfect possession is where the demon has completely, I guess, just so I can answer it really quickly, and I'm looking it up too, has completely taken over the individual. That individual no longer exists. It is all demon.
Is that meaning that they're too far gone?
That is what I'm gathering here, and I could be wrong. Absolutely, if I am wrong, somebody do correct me, but that is what the definition I'm looking at, according to some of the information out here from the Catholic Church, is on their small little demonology thing, which they don't like to talk about a whole lot anyway, but that is their explanation of perfect possession.
I've helped people at the highest level, and I'm talking about the whole exorcist, Linda Blair, head spinning, the climbing on the ceiling. I'm talking about the deepest of the deepest,
sure.
And they still have moments of consciousness. They still have to answer their doorbell. They still have to pay their bills. They don't just turn into some animal that just crawls into a dark space and waits until the landlord has to hand carry them out while they're biting and chewing. I mean, that's just not, to me, that just is not realistic at all. There's always a level of consciousness that they go in and out of. It's not relentless. There are times when full possession, that person has no idea whatsoever. It makes you wonder when you hear cases of where the great neighbor essentially similar to the shooter of the in Las Vegas. How many of these cases where the guy that was the great neighbor who mass murdered his whole family, did he not have full possession?
Yeah.
We don't know what those numbers are, but I'd be willing to bet you that they're a lot higher than most people would in the courts would admit.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine you're right. I mean, I don't deal with those things, thank God, very often. Because that's just not my thing. But when I have ever, one time I ran into one that I would say was demonic. I don't even know for sure. But I got my own way and handed it off to people that are far more capable of handling it than I am.
Yeah, and I feel like, and it could take years for full possession. It's not like it happens overnight, but the perfect possession, from what you're telling me, is somebody with black eyes and drooling in the corner of a room, ready to pounce on anything that comes into the room. And I just don't see that happening.
Well, it sounds like my 1-year-old. It sounds like my 1.5-year-old. To be completely honest with you, but hey, that's a different set of circumstances.
So yeah, Rev, you've seen, you've worked with people and at all stages of possession then, right?
Absolutely. And I've gotten, I'll tell you, it's been on an increase is incubus cases where the sexual attacks on especially women and men. I've had it on both women and men. Where and they're very, very difficult to deal with because they're usually related to some type of depression, some type of drug dependency or alcohol dependency, and things of that nature. And they can be extremely, extremely difficult to deal with as far as getting people's help with it. They're usually related in most cases. I found that there's usually something the person feels guilty about themselves in those cases. There seems to be a pattern of that. I have a system in which I go in and I make sure that people remove any kind of contacts that they have, any paranormal pictures that they have. They got to get them off their computers. They've got to anything that's possible. Attachments as far as tangible items, antiques, and things of that nature, especially mirrors. If you think that you receive this and it has something that's bad, we have to seal that. We do it with a cross and a prayer over top of the object, and then we wrap it up and then take it to a dumpster. I found that the dumpster is a much better place to dispose of things than bury them in your backyard because that just doesn't work.
Okay, quick question, Rev. How about burning them? Would you suggest burning them?
Absolutely. Don't want to burn anything. Satan's fire is his fuel. That's his choice. So what happens is that those ashes just go up in the air and spread all over your yard, and you just literally just spread it everywhere. You never want to burn, and my suggestion is that you don't bury it either, that you remove it. I can give you a quick example. These people, they rented an apartment that a mass murder took place. The guy killed 5 people. They sent me pictures, and I was able to determine that on the wall there was a stand-up mirror that was like from the 50s. And I said, I'm seeing this green glow around that mirror. I said, I want you to take that mirror down. If there's something wrong with that mirror, I want you to get rid of it. They took the mirror down, and behind the mirror was filled with blood from when the guy took a shotgun and blew everybody's heads off in the room. And when they repainted the apartment, they didn't take the mirror off. They just painted around it. And so the people said, the guy says, well, I want to bury it. And I said, well, I don't really want you to bury it. And he was like in Michigan or Maine, and the ground was frozen, and he wanted to wait until springtime to bury it. So I told him, I said, well, wrap it up in paper, and then take it out and put it in your shed, and then when the weather thaws out, you can bury it. Do you know that mirror, every night at 3 o'clock in the morning, that mirror started bouncing against that Rubbermaid shed? It sounded like Indian drum warriors beating on a drum all night long. His neighbors were calling him and complaining about the noise. That mirror did not sit still until he ended up taking it to a dumpster.
Wow. I want to switch gears here a little bit because one of the things I really wanted to talk about, and we have talked about this before, I've spoken with Jay before. Jay is a gentleman who is possibly also going to be on the show tonight because you have been able to help Jay, and he has a house that, I mean, listening to his story, to be very honest, was one of the scariest things I've ever heard. And I'm not there. I'm at my house. I'm doing the radio show with him, and it was truly frightening. It's a house I believe was built in 1773 before we were a country. And he had a truly frightening experience that no one was able to help him with, and then he was able to work with you. Would you mind giving us a little bit of background on what Jay's story was, please?
Yeah, Jay was married to a beautiful wife. He had 2 twin daughters. They were age of 8, and they had been haunted. They bought this house. It was a fixer-upper in Enfield, Connecticut, and they were there for almost 7 years. And they suffered from constant illnesses, headaches, fevers, a list of all kinds of paranormal activity, loud banging, footsteps, doors were opening and closing, multiple toys were coming on. I mean, you talked about the, you talk about, what was that? I can't think of the movie with
Amityville or? Okay,
Poltergeist.
sure.
Everything was on in that house. Everything was in Poltergeist. It was happening in that house.
Wow.
Let's see, they had voices, baby monitors where it said, you all are going to die out of their baby monitors. The wife was pushed down the steps when she was pregnant with the twins. The car almost ran over her out in the parking lot. They described the demon as it looked like a gargoyle with straight, sharp teeth and white eyes. Let's see, and there were several people that had been in that house that had tried to help them. People like Bishop Robert McKinney, who, God rest his soul, died. John Zappis, a haunted collector. Bob Bailey, Bob Baker from a Connecticut Paranormal Investigation Group. The Sharmans and different mediums. And none of them. I mean, even the Dominican Bishop McKinney, he managed to quiet things down for a couple months, and that was the best that they ever got. The case was just incredibly strong, and it lasted. There was a gentleman by the name of Orlando Ferrante, Senior, I believe his name was. He was with the Paranormal Research of Connecticut. He ended up getting an attachment to him and took it home, and it caused sickness and night terrors in his children. For those
question though, Rev, really quick, and I know this is exactly what the audience is saying. Why didn't they just move?
The thing of it is that he was what do they call it when your mortgage is upside down?
Underwater.
Reverse mortgage.
It was underwater.
Yeah,
it was like a reverse mortgage or something.
He was upside down. It was
okay.
It was, the house wasn't, you know what happened to real estate. It took a dive after 9/11, and he was so far in debt that they couldn't afford to move. They didn't, they would have lost everything. They would have been on welfare, with two twins.
Can I interject real fast too, Rev? Because I remember the stories that Jay had talked about this place. And I think it's also worth pointing out too that his brother, when they first moved into the house, his brother had seen a black mass, and it scared him, like crazy. Obviously, that black mass had also appeared in his brother's house, which makes you kind of think that there may not have been as easy as him getting out of there. I also want to point out too a couple of instances. I remember. Jay talking about too, like there was a story about his wife who was, I think, not necessarily bed rested, but she was in bed on the upper floor of the house, and she looks over to the doorway that leads out to the hallway, and there is this black dog that is just staring at her, and just keeps staring at her, and eventually it just passes by, but there is no black dog. There is no reason for a black dog to be in the house. But the one that scared me the most, bothered me the most, is that they did bring in a priest who did a look through the house and stuff, and because I think there's like two sides to the house. Mm-hmm. And as he was going to go upstairs to check out upstairs about the house, he stops, and Jay was very adamant about it. He just stops in his tracks, kind of frozen, and then kind of turns around and says, "No, I don't need to go upstairs. It's fine." As if he had seen something.
Man, that would make me really concerned. That the priest himself was scared, and according to them, they're bulletproof. Nothing can scare them.
Robert McKinney is from the Archdiocese. He's the living best of the best. And when Jay had a conversation with him about coming to his house in Connecticut, he lost his voice in the middle of the conversation, and it was gone for 2 weeks.
Huh.
And so it took them 2 weeks to be able to get to his house.
There's only two things I would do here. Number one, I would probably contemplate selling tickets. You know, haunted location, come on in. Because that seems to be the thing to do. But all joking aside, I wouldn't do that either because you'd be giving it fresh meat. But, Rev,
right. And a lot of people were hurt, you know, going in there. It wasn't just... There were several people that had heart problems. Even my partner that went in there with me, he's still having heart problems. He was like the third person that had gone in that house that developed major heart problems.
What was your aftermath? Did you encounter anything negative?
Oh yes, you know, I went in there and Jay, there were two Jays. Jay Dodd, he was also known as the Demon Doctor, and he's similar to me. He was the only other person I know that can do remote blessings and cleansings. And he went upstairs with the holy water, and he actually, we loaded the girls, the twins, with squirt guns with holy water, and just let them kind of take command of their house a little bit and shoot the demons with squirt guns. So they, you know, so he had a good, you know, kind of having a good time with the girls, and he blessed all the doorways and stuff. And I went down the basement myself because I have absolutely zero fear of Satan, and you can't in spiritual battle. So I went down in the basement. I saw the demon. He's basically. I did a little research before I went out there, and found out that the demon was what they call I believe they call him from Greek mythology, from the Samaritan mythology. He's a rock demon. And I won't mention his name because we don't do that. Yeah. But what happened was the foundation of that house was made from rocks that came from a mountain where sacrifices took place. So they literally built the foundation out of the blood of those who had been sacrificed in some type of bad ritual.
So,
and the rock demon, and I saw him, and he came out from underneath a back stairway that was underneath where they had a back entrance to the basement at one time, and there was a little crawl space underneath there, and he came out of there, and I basically saw him, and God gave me the rights to read the prayer to demonic possession, and he literally dissolved right in front of my eyes.
So that being said, how do you know? Because they talk about levels of demons, okay? They say there's this demon, that demon, and is it generally lower level demons that infest and infect people, or can it be the higher big guys, so to speak, that will come in and make your life a living hell?
No, it's the lower level demons come in. They're the introduction demons. They're the ones that do the banging, try to get you scared, to build up that negative fear to where it reaches the level where you reach near the possession level. Once that happens, then the higher level demons come in and finish the job, basically. You got to understand, they were 7 years in this house, so it took a long time to reach the point where the rock demon actually had come to take over. So, you know, it's a process in which fear. And he's a very, very faithful and religious person, and it was through his faith alone is the reason. The girls never got touched. Not once did they ever get touched. Now, they did see things, and it did scare them and things of that nature, but they were never harmed in any way.
Do you believe that maybe God won't allow that? Was there a certain point where God's like, no, you're not going to mess with the kids?
No, I think that he knew who he could get the fear from. Okay. And and that's what they do. A lot of times they'll go after the kids because they know the parents. You know, if your kid is screaming, you're going to jump up immediately and go to them. And they know that. They know that the kids are the trigger bar or the trigger alarm.
Well, Rev, let's not get too hyper on that one. They're screaming. I'd give them a good 5 seconds, 10 seconds before I go do anything. Just because, you know, I want to make sure. No, I'm kidding, of course, but no, seriously, you're right. They will always use your paternal and maternal instinct against you if they can, and that you're absolutely correct. That is 100% truth.
Yeah,
so go ahead, Rev.
And then the fear up in, and then as that fear grows, their strength grows, and then they reach a level where the the higher level demon has now taken over, and that's usually when the possessions and the other levels take over.
So, is there any problem, any issue with people who are listening to the story, listening to retelling of what is happening? Is there any danger to anyone just listening, like on the air now, to any of this type of stuff that we're talking about?
The only danger is if you've already got an infestation, and what I'm saying to you is causing more fear, and then anything, anything that enlightens fear. Fear is food. Just remember, fear and food is the same. Okay, negative energy is food.
I've got a million questions for you, though, Rev. And there's one demon out, and this just hit us through Facebook. If you, this is the question, if you truly can basically cast the demon out by knowing its name, which is the popular, that's the modern thought on things. What about Zozo the demon? It's out there with its name. How can you, shouldn't it be afraid that you know its name?
I don't take that route. That's the Catholic Church way.
Okay.
I basically, because of my ability to be able to see, hear, and communicate with spirits since the age of 3, and then the sweating factor, that takes place first. First I sweat, then I hear them, and then I see them. I don't know how I can do it, but I know what they're thinking. I can actually hear their thoughts. And I know what they're planning, and that gives me the edge over top of them. Once they've been identified, and once the houses, we've gone through and done all the blessings with the holy water, and blessed all the furniture and all the tangible, and blessed all the individual people in there, I hand it over to God and let God take care of them. And that's the way to do it. And it's so much simpler. Even in cases of demonic possession, there's none of this thrashing and people, talking in tongues and all that. Once we step into that place, they behave themselves while we're there, and they're out. They are absolutely out. We seal the property as soon as we get there, so they can't leave. So if they're stuck, they have to hear God. And God literally places His hand over that house, and whatever He reads, I don't know what He tells them. I don't know, He has a riot act that He reads them, but whatever it is, they either listen to Him, and if they don't listen to Him, then He calls upon me to read that prayer that I read, which is the prayer to Archangel Michael for demonic possession, and they're done. They're gone. They completely emulsify. I don't even know how I do it. I don't question how I can do it. All I know is that that's the pattern I've done in almost 300 houses, and that's what's worked.
So we have about 3 minutes before we go back to break, and you had mentioned, like, people listening, what do they do? Like, if they're feeling scared and they're listening to this, like, that's the thing they can be worried about. If something like that is happening, what should they do at that stage?
They should go to Scripture, and there's a website that you go to Google and you type in what does the Bible say about, and then you put the word in, and it'll lead you Scripture to whatever that word is. So what does the Bible say about fear? What does the Bible say about demon? You can type that in, and you can actually get the Scripture that will give you the answer and give you the comfort that you need so that you can calm down. Because it's a matter of you have to trust that God is the number one commander in spiritual warfare. And if you call upon Him and you trust Him and you don't give them this energy, this is the problem. The problem is that the demon consumes all of your thoughts. And you end up thinking about Satan and the demon more than you think about God. Well, how can God help you giving all your energy to the demon and you're giving nothing to God? You have to change that. You have to make it the other way around. You have to ignore the demon. You have to focus on God helping you and trusting that He's going to help you, and that gives you that strength.
Oh, Rev, though, I don't know. I mean, I get what you mean, and I'm right there with you. But, man, when you get the the fire-breathing demon sitting in front of you going, I'm going to eat your soul. It's hard not to want to think about the demon and the devil. I'm just saying, that would be very hard to flip that script around.
I'm just saying this is the process in solving the problem.
Yeah.
It's not going to take it away, but you've got to have a foundation somewhere, and it is not in giving him every moment, every thought of every hour of your day. That is the worst. That's all feeding frenzy.
Sure,
it's almost like thinking infestation in a sense. If it's totally infesting your mind, it's a very interesting way to look at it. Look, what we're going to do, Rev, is that we have one more half hour with you, and this has been an incredible conversation so far. When we come back after this break, what we're going to do is we're also going to talk about what Rev Neal Farley does to help people, and how, if you need help, how you can get a hold of him and get the help you need. You are listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
In 1999, The Exorcist was voted the scariest movie of all time.
Your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
Entertainment Weekly calls it the most viscerally harrowing movie ever made.
That thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
The most electrifying movie of the 20th century is now coming back to theaters.
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
Author William Peter Blatty and director William Friedkin have created an expanded, thrilling new version of The Exorcist with footage that has never been seen before.
She needs a priest.
Don't miss The Exorcist in the version you've never seen. Possessing theaters everywhere. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And welcome back to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts. My name is Greg Bakun, and we are in the final half hour with our conversation with Rev Neal Farley. This is Paracon Week. We're very excited for our event at Shooting Star Casinos this Friday, the 13th, and Saturday, the 14th. And I'm with my co-host, as always, Mr. Joel Sturgis, and we're having quite the conversation about not only demonology, but one of the things I wanted to kind of move into, Rev, a little bit, and we've been talking a little bit about this off air, is, obviously talking about demonology and demons and stuff is a very interesting subject, but also the other side of it, like how to prevent it, but also how to, how to be proactive with it. And I guess the question I have is like seeing how the paranormal community works now, in terms of how they like to promote all of this sort of like, dare I say, like badassery in terms of how they look and how they confront spirits and whatnot. How damaging has that been to the work that you're doing?
Well, in many cases, it's they go in there for fame and glory, and that should not be their objective goal. And there are many, many other groups that go in there with the intention of helping the family, and a lot more of them than the ones that don't. And unfortunately, they guide them in directions that causes more problems than good. They stir up things with the EVPs, with all the gadgets, all electronic, and they're going in there and they're sucking batteries right and left, and they're just. And what do you think? You think that after they've sucked 8 batteries out of you, that you're going to leave and they're going to be weaker? I don't think so. You've just given them, you just fed them, and then you left. If you cannot go in there with someone who is capable of doing a cleansing and a blessing, then all you're basically doing is stirring things up for them. If your intentions are of contacting the Catholic Church or trying to show that it's a possession case, that's great. But what if it's not a possession case? What if it's just, some nasty spirits that used to live there, or just nasty spirits in general? Then all you're doing is that you're antagonizing them. Every home that we go through and we do a house blessing and cleansing, we also help the spirits cross over. We do a rescue. Every house that you go into should provide the spirits with an opportunity to go into the light. And in many, many cases, that in itself is all it needs to be done. But if you're going to go in there and you're just going to try to collect evidence to prove that it's there and then walk away, what are you doing? What are you know?
Well, exactly. And another quick question from the audience is, do you have to physically be there, or can you remotely cleanse a house?
I do it. I 98% because of my disability. I do remotely. I do it right from my home. And we have almost and God is got almost a perfect record. Out of the almost 300 that we've done, I would say 280 of them have been successful.
That's a hell of a success rate.
Because God is doing it. I don't get called back. If I do, I get a postcard or a Christmas card from them saying how wonderful their lives are, how everything has changed. It went 360 degrees if they follow the plan that I give them. Because I don't just go in and get rid of it. I give them a plan that they have to work on. It's family unity, working together as a family, respecting each other with dignity and respect, trying to provide as much positive energy. If you're going to have a fight, you're going to have an argument, don't do it in the house. Go for a walk. Have a conversation while you're walking. Get in your car. Go for a ride. But don't do it in your domain.
Do people struggle with that in terms of when you give them a plan like that it's hard for them to follow?
It is if there's been a long-term history of dysfunction within the family. If there is substance abuse, if someone in the house is suffering from mental depression and anxiety or PTSD or a mental condition, it's a lot more difficult. But I give them the information, and they know what they need to do. And in the cases where they follow it and God doesn't expect perfection. He knows you're going to yell at your kid when all of a sudden you come home and they decided to paint the TV pink with Kermit pink.
I know that feeling. How do people? I mean, are people referred to you? Do they reach out to you through the internet? How does it normally work? How does your clientele? Well, I shouldn't say clientele, it makes it sound like a business, but how does your clients come to you?
They all different sources, from radio shows, from my interaction on Facebook. I usually respond to people on Facebook when someone goes on to Facebook and says that they're having some spiritual problems. I offer them some suggestions, and then the conversation will go into it deeper. I am not allowed to seek anyone out. I don't care how bad it is. I'm not allowed to. They have to come to me.
So they got they have to reach their breaking point. Okay, so
and let the website that has the email address on it, and let them come to me through that way. But I'm limited as far as how much I can try to convince them to let me help them.
So if I had somebody who needed your help, or I believe needed your help, it's not so much of, I can't really go to you and be like, hey, this person needs help. What do you think? I mean, they need to actually go through the due diligence, which isn't that big of a deal anyway, to go to your website and to contact you directly from them to you.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, because it has to start with the will to want to help.
Sure.
Yeah.
It can't, it can't be, a friend of mine's gonna, talk to you about it, and maybe, I'll think about it, and if you don't have enough willpower to pick up the phone and ask for help, then where's it going to go from there?
Do they almost have to be like at the breaking point, and that's what's the most effective? Is that why they have to directly contact you? That way it's much like the alcoholic going, yes, I'm an alcoholic, I have a problem, where they actually admit, yes, we're having a demon problem.
It starts with the first step of command, of you taking command of the problem and not passing it on to someone else or blaming someone else or you have to hit that wall, as I was saying before. You have to be to the point where you're ready to do almost anything to get rid of them. And if you're not there, I've had people that asked for my help and turned around and went on Facebook and were contacting 8 or 9 people, asking them all for help at the same time. Well, how can I help you if you've got somebody praying and a shaman over here and a priest over here and investigators coming in over here? It doesn't work like that. If you want me, then you have to work with me. And if you don't like what I'm doing, and you don't like where it's going, then find somebody else. That's fine. I got no problem with that.
No, that's good to know, because I know Joel has, I have done cases where with Nicole where we don't know what to, what really to do, and we've thought about reaching out to you, but it's like, obviously, and this is news, this is good information for me, knowing that no, we have to, we can give them a name, we can tell them what, might be a good person to talk to, but they have to do it themselves. And the thing is I've noticed in cases that I've worked on, obviously I'm not going to go into any details, but when you're telling me, Rev, about the huge history, the long history of problems of substance abuse and of mental illness and stuff, that tends to, in a few of the cases, ring very true to what's going on, and then also what's not happening in terms of getting their lives back together.
Well, I have a saying: you have to take care of the internal demons before I can help you with the external demons. The internal demons are the mental health problems. If you're not getting that help to deal with those type of things, then that's just going to continuously cause you problems, cause that negative energy to be fed. So if someone is under mental health care by profession, I can't do anything for them. Mm-hmm. By law, I could be sued. Let's just say, for instance, I was to help them and they were to commit suicide.
Yeah.
It would right back on me, and I would be liable for that because I'm a licensed, ordained minister. I am a spiritual counselor. I'm not a mental health counselor. So my suggestion is always, if you're under medication, you're under doctor's treatment, I cannot help you. No one should be helping you if you're under that care.
Yeah, I was going to say that makes complete sense. But let's just say I am one of your clients, and indeed you did clear my home, and I was having issues. How do you keep them away? I mean, how do you keep the problem from just reinfesting?
By putting your faith and trust in God, by treating each one in your family with honor and dignity and respect to the highest level that you possibly can, by living a good Christian life. Anybody can say they're a Christian. Christianity is a way of life. It's how we treat each other. It's how we treat ourselves. And my suggestion again is you go through Scripture. You try to live a good Christian life. You try to be as good as you possibly can. And that shows God that you trust Him. And you put all your faith and trust that He is going to protect you. And it works. It absolutely works. Over and over and over again. But when you lose your faith and you start going back and you go back onto looking at all the paranormal stuff again, don't you think God's saying to you, where are you going? I've shown you the light. I've given you a path. All I ask is that you follow that path and allow me to guide you. But if you're going to go off that path and go into the deep woods and start looking for the monsters, how can I help you?
Yeah,
and that's
makes sense.
That's where people go astray. And God's saying, look, I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to help you if you're going to go back to doing the things that got you in this situation in the first place.
Now, are the again, going back to the casual paranormal investigator, they are, in my opinion, I'm assuming now, you don't have to say about assuming, but I'm assuming they're the greatest group of people at risk.
It is. It's not a hobby. It's not capturing butterflies. It's not studying birds. It's not bowling. It's not hunting. In a sense, it's helping. You know, God. We are the only ones that can help a spirit cross over. God made it that way. He never ever meant to have full domain over us. He gave us free will. He gave Adam the right to take the forbidden fruit when they were told not to, and to suffer the consequences for doing so. It is our responsibility. We are our brother's keepers. It is our responsibility to help each other through this. And the only way that we can do that is through education, through understanding of what we're up against and the do's and the don'ts of what we should and what we should not be doing. Because it's out there. But it has to be positive. It cannot be negative.
How difficult is it if you're getting, I guess I'm answering my own question because I'm thinking to myself, first of all, if someone gets a hold of you and they're needing help, but say that they're Catholic and say, obviously with Catholicism, there is that belief that there is no spirits necessarily, but everyone's going, they're following one door or another to go to their final location. There isn't really a earthly spiritual realm like ghosts or anything like that. Do you ever run into problems with trying to explain to people who need help how that works, and that may not necessarily be the case? I guess the reason why I'm thinking I'm answering my own question because they reached out to you to begin with, so maybe that's not an issue at all.
You mean as far as them sticking with their own faith, or?
Well, yeah, sticking with their own faith, but but the time, because like Catholicism, the way I've always understood it, for example, is that there isn't really ghosts or spirits hanging around. You're either going to heaven, you're going to hell, you might be going to purgatory, but it's, people have very finite understanding of what their faith is, and does that ever become an obstacle in what you need to do?
No, because in most cases they've hit that wall. and they're bad, they've been scratched, the pots and pans have been flying around their house. They've got enough activity that they're not buying that there is no ghosts.
And it's actually, and if I might interject, it's actually very hard from what I understand now, and I could be completely wrong again, because I'm not a Catholic. But, and I'm so optimistic, no, just kidding. Normally I'm right, because you guys are wrong. Just joking, of course. But it's hard to get the church to pay attention. When you go up there and you say, I got this crap going on in my house, I've been told several times that several people are seeking help that they won't listen. That they won't listen. They just tell me, read my Bible and ignore it.
And that's because they are following Scripture.
Yeah.
And they won't go beyond Scripture. And most religions, other than the Catholic religion, will not waver past Scripture. And being the fact that I spent 55 years being tormented, and I feel the spiritual contact that I have with God and Christ, I do go beyond it.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to help anybody of any faith. I don't care, what religion you are, and give them the necessary tools and education that they need to help them to live a good Christian life.
And really quick, I know Greg's got a lot of questions, but I was good friends. I knew him really well, was Ed Warren, and we all know he was the only lay demonologist, that at that time anyway. that was a member of clergy, and he had mentioned that once you dive into that world of demonology and you're known, you become a marked person. Is that true? Do you feel through your work that maybe you've suffered maybe some ill fate because you've become marked, because they fear you on that demonic side?
For me personally, absolutely not. Because my faith is so strong and so powerful that God, everything that I do is done for a purpose and a reason. I don't wake up in the morning and say, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. I'm on that path. I'm in His light. I'm with His guidance. I can tell when I'm being deceived. After 55 years of being tortured, I know the difference between when I'm being deceived and when God is asking me to do what I've been doing. I ran the Spirit Rescue event, helped millions of spirits cross over into the light in preparation for the second coming of Christ and Revelations. God has been very, very clear with me as to my service to Him. I'm dedicated. I'm loyal. I will never ask for a dime. I will never ask for a penny. I do it all for the glorification of watching these people, those smiles and hugs. That's my reward, and that's God's reward. Is that you're helping people fighting Satan, and you're doing it in the faith of God. If you do it in the faith of God, and your faith is strong enough, He's not going to. I will walk through the valley of the shadow. I'll repeat it again, and fear no evil, for Thou art with me. I will walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the darkest spot of ever, but I won't fear because God is with me. Any lack of that faith, and yes, you are subject to that, is exactly what you said.
That's incredible. It makes a lot of sense. So how should people reach out to you if they need to talk with you?
They can go to Facebook under God's Way, House Blessings and Cleansings, and there I am. And that's the best because I can interact with them there.
Sure.
I had a website and it just wasn't getting the response that Facebook seems to do. So I gave up on the regular website and I pretty much stick with that. They can contact me through there. It goes straight to my email. Or they can just do Neal Farley on Facebook. Do a search for Neal Farley and go into my private message because I prefer that if they're having problems that we don't do it on the public page.
Yeah.
Invites all different kinds of. So a private message and catch me there.
Sure. Well, really, really quick. I was just kind of curious. Kind of popped in my head is you're really knowledgeable and you're about the best out there doing this. How often do you come in contact where someone gets a hold of you and said, we had this one demonologist in here, try to take care of it, and now it's gotten tenfold worse? How often do you have to clean up other people's messes?
Well, God's cleaning up the messes.
God has to clean up other people's messes.
And I would say it's probably less than 20%. Most of the time, it's people that they just don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. And they've just put up with it, and they've reached a point where they've had enough.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So just to kind of keep down this dark and frightening road, what about your karaoke? Are you still doing karaoke?
Dark and
karaoke?
Yeah.
Oh, did I say it wrong? People say both ways. Karaoke.
It's karaoke.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't croaked yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I saw on YouTube. You're quite the singer there. I mean, you really sound very, very good. By the way.
Yeah, well, I'm taking my last stab before I reach that old age where you get that crackly voice. I'm going to be 67 in November. So I'm taking advantage of that, and the crackly voice is starting to crack over. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I gave it up to do what I'm doing. I sang in a band. I thought about making a career out of it, but there's no substitute to working with God. There just isn't. So I've kind of put the singing off to the side because like I said, I've reached that age of, I don't know what it is. Is it congestion? It seems to hit you once.
I like to call it gravel in your voice. That's all. Get a little more gravel going.
It's like you're not supposed to sing after you reach a certain age.
I don't sing at all. That age is 1 for me. The age 1. After that, no, don't sing, dude. Just telling you, don't do it. That's what people told me. They were looking for that.
We'll get you to do the karaoke over at Paracon this year, Joel. Don't you worry about that.
You just never know. I might have to just belt out a tune or two. We'll see what happens.
What's your favorite Cars tune, Rev?
I say Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because my wife's cousin, Steve Berkowitz, who's vice president of Sony Legacy now, he was the tour manager of the Cars, and I guess his name was Rob. His last name was Orr, and he died of cancer, of pancreatic cancer. And we got to talk to him. He was the one who spent the most time with me and seemed to be the most social. So when he passed away, I dedicated my version of it to him, and that's the one that's the closest to my heart.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah,
really nice.
The Cars were a hell of a band. I mean, great stuff. Really classic Americana rock and roll. And, of course, a lot of people are, maybe you're not into his music, but Tom Petty just passed. And so I've been seeing a lot of that stuff going on. Were you a Petty fan?
Yeah, I mean, I like anybody that's unique. When you turn them on, you say, "Oh, that's the Cars." There's no doubt. They don't sound like somebody else. You know, that's Tom Petty. Yep, there's no doubt. You know, Joe Cocker. That's Joe Cocker. You know, there's no.
Yeah.
No, I'm kind of the boy band groups that all sound the same, or the other bands that are so similar that they're like clones of themselves.
Sure.
I'm not into that.
Sure.
No, the more unique you are, individual. That's what floats my boat.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
So with you, kind of living the life that you live, what does someone like you do on Halloween?
Well, I have a projector that I've been watching the football games on. I got me a 100-foot screen in my basement that I pull down, just basically for sports and movies. And I saw where you can actually take and do videos of Halloween scenes, ghosts and ghouls and things of that nature. And you just white sheet, you put it over your front picture window, and you put the projector behind it, and it actually makes it look like these things are in your house. So I spent the past week snatching as many digital scenes as I could possibly pull off of YouTube, put them on a disc, and I'm really excited. And I've got one of these little portable Bluetooth speakers I'm going to set outside that does all the that I can Bluetooth the sound from the projector's output, audio output. And I'm looking forward to seeing the reaction from my neighbors when I project all these Halloween, and I got singing pumpkins and Michael Jackson Thriller and all kinds. So it's probably, I would say, 50 by 50 the cloth that I'm going to put in front of my picture window, so it'll look like my house is the way it used to be.
They might scream.
And I have no doing that. They might, like I said, it's faith.
Yeah. I was going to say, the neighbors might go, "Oh my God, he's bringing his work home with him."
Most of my neighbors don't know what I do. That's why they still talk to me.
See, my neighbors don't know what I do, and they don't talk to me. So, I mean, I guess it kind of goes both ways.
My neighbors love me. I've got.
Well, they'll start throwing stones, So.
Yeah. No, my neighbors dig me.
Hit him! Shoot him!
Get him! Get him! It's that guy! Get him! Yeah, I've gotten that a couple times.
Yeah, so they'll blame you for everything. You know that, don't you?
Sure.
Every time they scratch or their hot water tank goes out. Yeah, it's that daggone neighbor brought in his negative stuff to my neighborhood. Used to be a nice place before he moved there.
Yeah, there goes the neighborhood. But, in closing, I guess, because we are hitting the Halloween season and people are a little more interested in dabbling in the darker side of things, what's the best way to protect yourself?
Prayers. you can go to my website, and I have protection prayers that I have, and I'll be happy to anyone that wants them can download them off the site, and you can use these prayers before and after you enter any type of investigation, and you say these protection prayers, and that protects you. That says, when you say a prayer, it says, God, I need you with me on this.
Well, I hate to rush you off, Rev, but it was a great show. We got to get out of here. End of the show. Thank you again to Reverend Neal Farley for coming on the show. Till next time, take care of each other, love each other, and stay positive. And, hey, watch out for each other, too. As we learned tonight, you just never know.